All right, so here's the net result of what I showed in the other video. So this is the appliance that fit over top of her teeth. And here, let me dismantle this carefully. Okay, so here's the custom tray. You can see the tissue stops. Where's my camera? There we go. So you can sort of see the tissue stops poking through those three areas. And then so I used Regisil by registration material to border mold it, and then just light body PVS to get a wash impression. Now I did end up removing the material inside the wells essentially, and then reseated it and floated in from the top to get it nicely adapted, and so there was no excess. I actually took a blade while in the mouth and trimmed it back so that I could then fix them together, because the problem is I actually did it twice, kind of a learning lesson for me. I tried just doing a full pickup thinking that there was such a small gap that would be, you know, still rigid enough, but it really wasn't. They still could move a bit. So instead, I wanted to get rid of all the PVS on top, and so I cut it all back, cut out those holes, reinserted in the mouth. So now I had a, you know, perfect, well, not perfect, but a good impression elsewhere. Reseated that and used a small tip to fill in the voids around them. Imagine the red part's gone. Once that was done, I used a blade to trim it back as best I could. I didn't want to remove it, trimmed it back. And then I took floss. If you look really carefully in here, I'm looking for the camera here. There's floss. Anyway, it's hard to tell, but it's wrapped around and weaved and wound all around everywhere. Kind of maybe see it in there a little bit. It's all wrapped around. Then I took this Primatech Primo Pattern LC gel, like clear gel, and float like flowable composite. Now you can basically just build it all up and then take a burr and cut it and then refill it in there just to make sure you account for any sort of shrinkage. With me, I just built it up so they weren't actually touching, cured it, so you get all the shrinkage, and then filled in the areas and cured again. So now this is a rigid fixation for the actual implant impression posts. This whole thing's not coming apart. I mean, I really intentionally put it right against the resin. I could possibly try and separate it, but I don't want to, because I'm gonna send this back to the lab. Should have ordered some analogs so I could just give them the analogs, but I didn't. This is a Straumann case, and I actually I can't tell you the last time I messed with Straumann. I don't know if I've ever restored Straumann. Well, tissue level, bone level. Again, this is a case that was done by a local periodontist, and so I had to order these, and I just didn't think to order the the analogs as well. So anyway, now I used this and dialed it up and down to however I liked it to be. In fact, after this video, I'm going to take a Sharpie and mark the side of it. Mark this side, mark a notch here, mark the rim. So in case it ever moves, I can kind of refine it. But truth be told, it's not necessary anymore. I could actually remove that because this now indexes. And let me see if I can, I know I'll be able to when I put it together. I did earlier, that's what I'm trying to, on recording is always going to be a little bit more tough, a little more difficult, but it's all right. Well, somehow, of course. Yeah, I'll figure it out later. In fact, I'll pause. All right, I found it, because there's a little pointed part right here that matches up to that corner. And when I first reassembled it, these two pieces were somewhat adhered together, so we'll see if I can get this back together easily. Because once it does, it quite literally locks. That's the other thing, is actually this part right here locks right in there. That's how it makes it easy. I just forgot about that. And there we go. There's no gap. It's quite rigid. We'll of course do a try-in and everything, but this is a pretty, in my opinion, pretty solid light relation, and we should be good to go. Anyway, that's what this whole process was for.